So hi there, welcome to lesson three. We are um, going to deeper waters. So in your experience with data, or when you soon start managing data, you may see large volumes of data and tables, and it may just be difficult for you to make sense of them just by looking. So I'll give an example. If you look closely at this team performance, to look at closely. So there are 10 teams, team 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, up to 20. So there are 10 teams numbered 11 to 20. That is, and their performance scores are just below. So if I said, what do you think about this? It may just be difficult to make sense of it. But once you put them in a chart form, I didn't change any numbers. There's the same thing I have here. Once you put them in a chart form, you now begin to realize that team 20 really had the highest score and team 17 had the lowest score. But when the numbers are at eye level, you really can't see things like that. So we're building the basis for what we call data visualization, which is a very, very powerful thing that Stata can do in this lesson. Just building it basically. So when you have massive information, can imagine millions of observation, this particular portion, the way it moves. So the charts here tell a story. Team 17 has the lowest score of 3.00 and team 20 has 11.0. So these kind of things cannot be seen just by looking at tables. And that's what there is a need for what we call data visualization. It allows you to see information quickly, act on them, find out why, for example, Team 17's performance is quite low and Team 20's performance is quite high. So data managers are like investigators. When something is wrong, they need to find out exactly what the problem is and why it is there. So visualization helps you to know where to even look and where to focus your attention. So as a data manager, I will focus on 17 and 20 quickly to help me get a sense of why they are so high. Really, since that's not the average score we are getting across the teams, why is 17 so low and why is 20 so high? So that's how it basically works. So we need to talk about the syntax in Stata for that. We have graph bar, and then you talk about statistics, which could be mean, median, count. We just did mean. I mean, anytime I mention mean, I mean minimum, mean, and maximum. Now there are others, but they're just beyond the scope of this course. And then you are able to talk about the y variables, basically the height of those bars, and then you can group them over teams or over another categorical variable. All this will be displayed in the practical session. So that's how it looks like for the vertical bars. They have this kind of syntax. So we have the horizontal bar. Now, the only difference is that when you say graph, you can say mean, max, like we have just shown, and you say bar height, and then you display the bar of the variables. And we're going to do that, I mean, for for all those data sets we have been using in our do files. So we'll have a practical session and then we'll go through this. It will be so interesting to watch. Okay, so we have that. We also have the horizontal bar, and the only difference is that there is an H. There is an H in the syntax. So you see it's graph mean math bar H bar, because you may want your bars to be horizontal or you may want them to be vertical. So I would see you in the practical session where I would run these things out, show you how they work, and it's very interesting. You get to distill information from a data set, even if you had millions or billions of observations in literal seconds. So that's how it works. So I would meet you in the practical session where I will show you how everything works, and then hopefully we will make some grounds into understanding what we need to take care of whenever we are dealing with continuous variables We are still on continuous variables. We are still checking consistencies, but now visually with continuous variables. Okay, let's move on now to the practical session. I'll see you shortly. So, hi there. We are continuing from the practicals that we already had in the previous module, module 6. And now we want to find the highest English and math score for the whole school. So let's just take note of that. English and math score for the whole school. That's number one. And then for each grade, we had grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and for each sport. So it has some sporting events. So I'll just continue from where we stopped. If you recollect, we had already um, worked here. So let's where we merged everything. So we had already merged the entire file in the previous module. So here we have save student appended, and that's the file we're going to use. Yeah, because it's just addressing the school. Last questions or the last group of questions had to do with some of the parents, but this is just talking about the school who had the highest score, or what is the highest score rather, for maths and for English. And then we can maybe begin to do some deductions there. Okay, we are just finished with charts, so that's what we want to use to illustrate this. So I could just start here, say use, and let's just go pick this. What I do sometimes, and this is a tip I'm giving you, I can copy the entire file that was saved, and then I just change two things. Save, I change it to use. Replace, I change it to clear. So it just gives me a brand new data set that I can work with. So the so we're going to use charts and plot. And why I like them is because you're able to easily visualize quickly, and look at the trends of what you are reviewing. So the default syntax will be graph bar, and then the variable you are looking at. So it's math score. I'll drag it down here. And what it does by default is give you the average math score. So the entire school, the entire 100 people, can you see observation 100? Their average math score for the entire 100 people will be displayed on the map. I mean on the graph. So that's what we have here. So average score is about 60 something, because it's 20, this 40, this 60. So the same thing if I had to do English score, English underscore score. When we select them and run them again, so we have for English. So it means we had slightly a higher mean for maths than English. Now that's not what the question wanted us to get. It was very clear. What's the highest score? So what you do is you put, now we have jumped to grade. Yeah, okay, no, we've not jumped to grade. So we're just going to do for the whole school now. We're just going to do max just after the bar, and then we select both again and run. So this is the maximum score. So somebody almost got 100 there. Another person almost got 100 in the entire school. Now there was an over syntax in the PowerPoint presentation. So you go and check the examples again. So you can say now, because the question mentioned, just a minute, let's just throw this away. Let's cancel and come back here. It mentions the whole school. It mentions each grade. So we're going to do over grade. That means we want to see how they fared in maths and English over grade. So let's look at the difference now. So let's run it again. So we had how grade 1 performed for maths and English, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. And then you can compare. Clearly, you can see in grade 4 and 5, they just seem to have the same maths and English maximum scores. So you can observe a trend, and this you may not be able to see if it was just a table. So the idea is to see any inconsistency, any unusual trend, which is not really, I mean, unusual here. Seems their maximum scores are fine. So we may just want to take note of such things. So that's one way. Now, let's go down again. So they said over sports. What was the sporting variable called? So let's look at what the sports variable is called. I think okay, it was called best spot. So what do? You can copy and put it here, and then we run it again. So you see now across the spots, you now find the maximum and minimum for English score and maths score. So that's how it is. Now you see that the maths comes before the English. So all that can also be slightly altered, just for you to see a variance, that's all. So the English now comes before the math scores. So you can easily visualize, if so you can say, oh, everybody the maximum, all the maximums across the spots, none of them got less than I think 80. It's clear from this, you know. That's how we can visualize our results. And we're going to do a lot of visualization in the future courses. In fact, there's an entire masterclass of visualization. And what I mean by that is I would have module 1, module 2, module 3, where we talk about everything that we have to do with uh, visualization. And trust me, I don't even think we'll be able to exhaust everything. That's the truth. But just to build the fundamentals again, like I've always mentioned. So that's how it works. Now, the same thing works for minimum value. You can put the minimum value here. I just change it to min, and then I also run again. So these are the minimum values that we have for those sports, meaning that baseball seems to have a very high minimum value for English score across all. It's clear that those who are doing baseball seem to be doing well in their English, you know. So these are the kind of things you provide feedback for when you start checking data. And yes, sometimes you check data visually and it's faster to see if there's a pattern, if there's an error, if there's an inconsistency. If everybody is 100 and a particular group is 10, you want to know why. Because averagely, everybody should be close to average. So that's how it works basically. I hope we have been able to answer the questions as to be. Okay, there's one more thing I had missed out in my notes here. So there's also the horizontal bar. So let's go back. So I just put H in front of bar. That's the only difference, and I shared that with you already. So it's good to show you that too. And the axis just change. So you can see that the categorical variables now or are on the left hand side, and then below you have the y-axis and your x-axis. So that's basically how you can visualize, and this is good when you want to see longer words or longer descriptions. So it's easier this way, because when it is in the portrait format or vertical format, sometimes text is squeezed. So look at table tennis, for example, in this format, and then look at the non let's look at the other bar. Look at table tennis again. Let's just take a close look at table tennis. So it's in okay, it's fine. But what I'm just trying to say is that if you had many more categories, say like maybe 10, it will be very, very tight. And it will start what's the word? Word wrap, it start going to the next line. But with the H bar, you can see more of the options and you can optimize space. So the purpose of this class is not to tell you benefits of the horizontal bar over the vertical bar. No, it's just to show you that you can check for setting values and find out if they are good. Now, if the ideal maximum value should be 80, everybody seems to have crossed that ideal maximum value. So things like that you can evaluate and check at the same time. So I hope this has helped. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you in the next lesson.